Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News at the South Florida Conservative News Center. It's Freaky Friday, March 6th, 9 a.m. And the freakiness is, of course, the rise and rapid fall of Kristi Noem, ex-head of Homeland Security. And God knows what it is that she's really gotten up to over there, Susie Cream Cheese. But we are going to talk about some of it and why I will ultimately give an attaboy to the Trump administration for doing what they've done. So, we're going to talk about something that every politician, every cabinet official, every prosecutor, etc., should remember before they take office, which nobody's doing. Power in American government is never permanent, Mitch McConnell. Authority is always conditional, Nancy Pelosi. And credibility, once damaged, can evaporate overnight, douchebag Massey. The recent removal of Kristi Noem from her position as Secretary of Homeland Security is a powerful reminder of that reality. Not long ago, Noem was widely seen as one of the rising stars of the Republican Party. She was a former governor of South Dakota, national conservative figure, which is always, and a close political ally of Donald Trump. But in Washington, the distance between rising star and political liability can be very short. Remember the story of Icarus, and when security arrives, and when the scrutiny arrives, and when the hearings start, they arrive quickly. So Kristi Noem's rise to American politics was unusually fast. She came from South Dakota, raised on a ranch and active in local politics before eventually entering the state legislature, went to Congress in 2010, representing South Dakota in the House of Representatives, but her national profile took off when she became the governor of South Dakota in 2019. During that time, she developed a reputation as a confident and media savvy conservative. She frequently challenged federal authority and positioned herself as a defender of state sovereignty and individual liberty. Pretty much her thing. That visibility made her one of the most recognizable Republican governors in the country. So when Donald Trump returned to the presidency in 2025, it was not surprising that Noem was selected to lead the Department of Homeland Security. And that is not a small job. That is one of the most important, politically powerful, encompassing positions. Wish it would be taken down and removed personally. It's too much power for one person, but it is not a small job by any means. It is one of the largest federal agencies in the government, and its name buttons down over a myriad of different topics. It oversees immigration enforcement, border security, disaster response, cybersecurity, counterterrorism, the Coast Guard, all kinds of different things. In other words, it sits at the center of some of the most politically sensitive issues in the country. Noem was now operating on one of the most visible stages in American government. She had arrived with a capital A. The turning point came during congressional oversight hearings, which you may or may not have seen some of. Members of Congress began raising questions about management decisions within the Department of Homeland Security. Sidebar, Your Honor, they would never have even looked at that if we hadn't had the issue with illegal immigration, because they have been trying to take Noem down by any means necessary. Here, all they had to do was open a book. These questions touched on several issues, including the use of taxpayer funds for a large federal advertisement campaign related to border enforcement, which she figures prominently in. If you've ever seen them, it's like an ad for her. The role of political advisors in departmental activities, and broader questions about decision making inside the agency. At first glance, this sounds pretty much like routine Washington oversight. But congressional hearings are rarely routine once the cameras are rolling, and the Democrats desperately, desperately need any kind of W they can get, especially when it comes to destroying the credibility of anybody who is stopping them from keeping illegal voters in the country. So when senior officials are forced to explain decisions under oath and under public scrutiny, small issues can become very big ones very quickly. And once questions about leadership or judgment move from private discussion into a formal investigative setting, the political equation is going to change. And that's exactly what happened here. The response from the Trump administration, attaboy, by the way, Trump administration, was swift. Rather than attempt to ride out the controversy or defend every management decision inside the department, the White House moved quickly to replace Noem as Secretary of Homeland Security. They nominated a successor, Mark Wayne Mullen. Noem was reassigned to another diplomatic role in East Jibip, and the administration signaled clearly it was not interested in allowing controversy to overshadow its broader political agenda. Trump learned that this time, what he did not learn the last time. He is incredibly loyal to the people who are loyal to him. But when you start to dick around and you start using the name or the brand, as they would say, for other purposes, you will get shut out. And there's too much riding on Trump's administration now to let Kristi Noem bring it down even by one little tick. And she knew that. And yet she did what she's doing. By the way, I'm not mentioning the part where she had sex with her advisor because that's very Fannie Willis. So it's kind of funny they went in that direction, but nobody remembers Fannie Willis. Gorilla Grip, if you recall, was her code name. So, gotta love that shit, right? Uh, so anyway, Trump, that's it as far as he was concerned. And that decision carried a more important message, as I've heard from Washington. Cabinet officials, you serve at the pleasure of the president. Once confidence erodes in you and you are not meeting your quota, if Trump tells you to do something, he doesn't ask how you're going to do it, he asks you to do it. If you are not making your quota, you are going to be out because this has got to be a hard ride to the midterms. Even though I have a feeling that the Democrats will not win the midterms, the fact that he's running like that is a smart move. So once confidence erodes, whether because of management concerns or political liability or credibility, the tenure you have is going to end very quickly. And the move also suggested something else, which nobody cares about. The White House appeared to view the issues raised during the hearings as a problem with an individual official rather than a reflection of the administration policies, because it was. In other words, the system corrected itself. You would not have seen that occur in the Biden administration. You would not have seen that occur under the Obama administration. This is taking, hey, there's a problem with this person. They're gone. We're moving forward. No one's going to give credit where credit's due on that. That's just kind of how the politics works. This dynamic is not unique to cabinet officials. We recently saw a similar credibility crisis unfold in the legal system. And this is why I brought it up earlier. In Georgia, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis faced intense scrutiny after allegations surfaced that she had a personal relationship with a special prosecutor she had hired to work on the prosecution of Donald Trump and others related to the 2020 election investigation. Gave him all kinds of money. He wasn't qualified for the job. The controversy forced Willis to testify in court about the relationship and about financial arrangements tied to that prosecutor's employment. Now, like I said, sitting prosecutor in the middle of a nationally watched criminal case suddenly finds herself under cross-examination about her own conduct. Regardless how the legal questions ultimately played out, the spectacle itself damaged her credibility. So once authority figures are forced into defensive testimony about their own decisions or personal relationships, the focus shifts away from the institution they represent and onto their judgment. And that shift can be devastating. The situation involving Kristi Noem and also the Fannie Willis are not identical. One involves a presidential appointee, which is Noem. The other involves an elected district attorney who was also up to hijinks, Fannie Willis. But both episodes demonstrate the same institutional truth. Power in public office depends heavily on credibility. And once that credibility is challenged in formal proceedings, whether in Congress or in a courtroom, the authority that you operate under becomes fragile. So there is a deep lesson here that extends far beyond partisan politics. Every senior official in government operates under a basic assumption. Eventually, their decisions will be examined by whoever, investigators, journalists, political opponents, the oversight committee when you're under testimony. What may seem like routine decisions inside an agency can become explosive once they're exposed to public scrutiny, which is why discipline, transparency, and careful judgment are not optical virtues in public service. They are survival skills. The Noem episode illustrates how quickly reputations can collapse once oversight bodies begin asking questions. That's a hint out there, to the Congress and the Senate that they should be doing more of that right now while you have the opposition on the ropes instead of being a bunch of little girls. It also demonstrates that political loyalty alone is rarely enough to protect an official whose credibility has been weakened. So that's basically the message for future office holders. Public authority is not your personal power. It is borrowed power. It exists only as long as public confidence exists. And once that confidence begins to erode, careers that once looked unstoppable can end almost overnight. Kristi Noem's rise and fall in Washington, therefore, is more than a political story. It is a cautionary tale. It is a reminder to every one of you scumbags that is operating in DC right now and thinks you're above the law. You are not. You are in a climate right now where you can easily be found out. I think you should have seen that happen in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maine, Georgia, places like that. It's coming and it's coming for all of you people. So when you see people that have decided they're like, oh, the Republicans are tired of Trump and they're resigning, they're not. I'm like, not. They're not going to run next time. They're probably not going to run for a reason other than they don't like Trump. They are probably going to run knowing that they are one step away from being drug in front of a congressional authority somewhere and having their ass handed to them and leaving in disgrace. So let's continue with what we're doing. I do not care if it's Republican or Democrat. If you are a crooked piece of garbage and you are holding office, you have to go. And that is the difference in the message between our side in general. I can't say everybody. The neocons never, right? They may as well be on the left. But if you're truly on either the conservative or MAGA or whatever, all corruption has to be punished. And if you don't believe that, then you really should just say, I'm just calling myself a name to try to impress the boys or the ladies or whatever you're doing somewhere else. So that's it. Have a nice Friday and good weather out there, it looks like. See you later.